some issues with a loved one, a spouse, maybe your mom or dad? Maybe they're needing a little help around the house these days, getting a little older. They're not quite clicking their heels the way they used to. That's our topic for today. My name is Robert Allen. This is Ask the Experts. We're here today with Diego Chacon. He is with 24Hr HomeCare. Check them out at the number 24HRcares.com. The number 24HRcares.com. We're going to talk for the hour about your needs at home with health care. That would be non-medical assistant health care. I want to be clear about that. Diego, thanks for joining us in studio.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
All righty. Sorry, we had a little microphone issue there just for a quick second. This is a topic that I know a little bit about, from a personal level. So I think with you knowing about it from the business level, that's what you do for a living, as well as you did tell me before we got started here today that you had some issues with your grandmother. I think we can give folks a good overview of what they should be thinking about when it comes to home care with these non-medical issues. So give us just a general description then, what 24-hour home care can provide for folks.
Absolutely. So non-medical home care is often referred to as private duty care or custodial care, but the scope of practice consists of personal care assistance, bathing, dressing, assistance to and from the restroom, light housekeeping, meal preparation, transportation, medication reminders, and companionship.
So basically it's would this be what's referred to, I think medically they call it the activities of daily living?
Precisely. We assist through the process of activities of daily living.
Yeah, so I mean sometimes, maybe if our listeners are at the hospital and somebody's had surgery or something, they might hear a social worker say to them, you might need help with activities of daily living. The things that we take for granted. We take for granted being able to bathe ourselves and be able to feed ourselves and stuff. But if we've maybe had a recent surgery or if we're getting older and we're not in this physical good condition anymore, we do need some help around the house. So something I think I read on your website, which is great, if I'm correct, is that 24-hour home care will come to your home and do a free consultation.
Exactly that. So we come to the home, conduct an initial care plan, work with the families to finalize what activities of daily living they'll need assistance with. We'll also review any sort of familial information, emergency contacts, physician information, and also discuss caregiver preferences. So, we take into consideration, personality traits, things to that effect, just to facilitate the most comfortable environment for our clients, patients in their home. Yeah,
that's interesting. That makes me think about 20 years ago when I had someone that we used as home care for my dad years ago. They did take that into account, like, would you be more comfortable with a male or a female caregiver? In the case of my dad at the time, we actually had, it was an older man. It was amazing. The guy was in great shape, and he actually came as my dad's caregiver. They became friends. So that's good that you do that interview from a sense of the person who's being cared for. It's not just about the technical aspect of caring for them. There has to be relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the most important aspect of our service. And, again, facilitating that relationship is important for us. And it's beautiful that your father had that relationship with his caregiver.
Yeah, I think we were extremely fortunate. I mean, it's great to have a home caregiver to begin with. But the fact that this particular company happened to have an older guy who was doing it, it was a great, like I said, companionship situation. So if folks want to get a consultation with you guys, let me make sure I have the right number here. 480-219-4434.
That is correct.
That's your main offices in Scottsdale. And I do want to mention that 24-hour home care, while they're based in Scottsdale at that number, 480-219-4434, if I understand correctly, you'll go out throughout the entire Maricopa County.
That's correct, Robert. We service all of Maricopa County.
And actually, as we talked before the show, 24-hour home care is a growing company that has a large footprint in California, and you're increasing even to Arizona and other states.
Exactly. So most recently I worked out of our Irvine office, and from there was given the opportunity to open up our Scottsdale office. about 2 years ago, and we've recently opened an office in Dallas, and we'll be opening an office in Denver as well. So we're expanding across the state. But yes, we were based in California initially.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about everything ranging from an hour's worth of care to 24 hours worth of care, and maybe even a blend of some things, because I know myself, I did some caregiving for my parents in years past, and there were times when I just felt like I need a break or I need help. So, and I know that many caregivers will, they'll give very much of themselves, but your company, I'm guessing, you'll work a plan even with a family caregiver as well, blend it together, have your folks come in, take up different times. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. And in many instances, we find that when family is providing support or providing support for a family member that needs extensive coverage, that individual family member providing care can wear themselves out. They themselves can get sick, and they do sacrifice their personal time with their kids, their family, their friends, what have you. In our case, we have the option to fill in for them, provide some sort of respite services so they can still go about their day and have peace of mind that their loved one is being cared for.
Okay. And also something about 24-hour home care that I know is different even from my own experience over the years. Many of these home care companies, they insist on a minimum amount of hours for the minimum visit. And my experience has been like, if we can't come to your home for like 4 hours, we can't send somebody. And if I read correctly at your website there at 24hrcares.com, you don't set a minimum.
That's correct. We have no hourly minimum requirement. Typically, the industry standard is anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. But we can help with, care for as little as 30 minutes to around-the-clock coverage, whether it's just making a quick meal or helping with a shower. Very flexible, but dependent on the patient's needs.
Yeah. I think that has a twofold aspect to me. Number one, that's great for me as a client who needs, some home care for myself or for my family member. But I think it is a really wise thing for 24-hour home care to do that, because ultimately people are going to need more help over time. You are allowing yourselves to go in and give a person what they need, as opposed to saying, well, this is our minimum. And I'm going to feel that over time, people are going to say, yes, I'm getting older, I need more help, or, oh, by the way, I trust this person, and now I do want them in my home more. So I think it's just a great policy.
Great. Thank you.
I have to say that's
Thank
really,
you, Robert.
I would take that back to the head of the company and let him know that he's doing the right thing.
I'll definitely relay the message for you.
All right. Our guest is Diego Chacon. He's a young man who is very passionate about 24-hour home care, the company he works for, and he goes out and he tries to explain to people, how they can use their services. We're talking to him today more on a one-to-one level about how he can help you and how their company can help you. And basically, like I said, one of the first things is free consultation. And I'm guessing that when you go to someone's house for consultation, you find lots of different situations. You might find someone who barely needs your help. You might find someone where your caregivers that go there say, you know what, folks, this might even be getting beyond home care. You might want to be thinking about stepping out further, and maybe we can connect you with someone that way.
Definitely. When conducting our initial consultations, we do assess all the needs of our patients, clients, as well as the setting of the home. Oftentimes when patients are hospitalized, they don't necessarily clean up before heading to the hospital, and sometimes the house may be in shambles. But, oftentimes outside of our scope of practice, we do refer to either home health or some sort of skilled care if it exceeds our abilities.
Okay. Now, separate of just general home care, do you guys do like temporary situations? Like I was saying earlier when we first came on, maybe someone has a family member in the hospital right now and they're about to get released and they know that's going to be more than they can deal with. Will you take a temporary assignment?
Absolutely. We don't bind or contract our patients into any sort of set schedule. They can utilize services for just, one quick transportation from the hospital to home or what have you.
All right, good deal. Stay with us. Diego Chacon is going to join us for the rest of the hour, explaining how you can get the home health care you need. This is Robert Allen. This is Ask the Experts.
Need some help at home with your mom, dad, or spouse? 24-Hour Home Care is one of the largest, most trusted professional caregiving companies in the nation. Our core mission at 24-Hour Home Care is to help seniors continue to lead full, healthy, and active lifestyles by providing them with the highest quality, non-medical, in-home care. With a local office in Scottsdale, 24-Hour Home Care serves all of Maricopa County. You'll be pleased to know many of our caregivers are graduates of the country's top programs, making them the most sought after in the industry. 24-Hour Home Care provides an unmatched level of care with competitive pricing. Unlike many other caregiving services, 24-Hour Home Care has no minimum hourly requirements. Need some help at home with your mom, dad, or spouse? We're happy to offer you a free in-home consultation. Reach out to 24-Hour Home Care now. Call 480-219-4434. That's 480-219-4434.
You know, I think second in line to talking to your parents about their will or trust or estate would be talking to your parents or a spouse about the need for some kind of home health care. And that's what we're talking about here today. It's not always an easy conversation, but it is a definitely important conversation for people's safety and health. Our guest today is Diego Chacon. He's with 24-Hour Home Care. Diego, thanks again for joining us in studio.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
It's a pleasure. This is a big issue. I am in the baby boomer age range, and I know it's something that I'll be thinking about in my future. I know it's something I thought about in taking care of my greatest generation parents, and it's just something that, it's a reality. And I think that people need to get past their shyness about it. They need to be willing to reach out and contact a company like yours. I'm going to give that number right now, 480-219-4434. That's for 24-Hour Home Care. Based here in Scottsdale, they give service all throughout Maricopa County. 480-219-4434 is the number to call to get a free in-home consultation. Diego, tell us just again briefly what is involved in that home consultation for folks that might have just tuned in.
Absolutely. So either myself or a member of my management team will go to the home, meet with our clients, patients, anyone involved in the healthcare decision-making process, and review a customized care plan, where we go into more depth and detail of what the family member may need on a day-to-day basis, discuss activities of daily living, emergency contacts, physician information, and also we'll review caregiver preferences just to facilitate the most comfortable environment for the client or patient that's needing the caregiving services.
Yeah, and those services, we talked about what's called activities of daily living. It's the type of things that you're accustomed to doing for yourself, but you're getting older, and maybe it's a little harder for you to cook without setting the stove on fire. Maybe it's a little harder for you to bathe because you've recently had some injury or whatever, or you're just getting a little older and you're not as flexible as you used to be. It's all those types of things. You just need some help around the house. It might be the types of things that maybe family members with, helping you with at certain times, or maybe they just don't have the time to do it, and you can call upon a company like 24-Hour Home Care. And again, just to mention, 24-Hour Home Care, a really unique and cool thing about them, even from my own life experience with having my own parents taken care of, they don't have a minimum of how much time they need to spend at your home giving care. Many companies are going to say we need at least a 4, 5, or 6 hour minimum to bother to send anyone. 24-Hour Home Care is unique in that they're not going to require a certain minimum amount of time. They will still help you out. Even, I think you said if someone even needs half hour of help.
That's correct.
I think I read that, is transportation even something you can help folks with occasionally?
Absolutely. We can definitely help with transportation.
Yeah. I know that I was the family member in my household that had to have the uncomfortable situation of talking to my mother and taking away her car keys. She was starting to have some dementia. Was not a good idea for her to go out driving on her own. And I had to tell her, I said, Mom, I got to take your car keys from you. You can't do this anymore, And look, giving up our independence in some of these things is a challenge. So, it takes people that have care and concern. So how do you approach that part of it? I mean, you go and you evaluate somebody's needs. How do you approach, it's got to take some good maneuvering to talk to people that are apprehensive about strangers, shall we say, helping them at home?
Great question. So, I mean, in most instances, we're dealing with a population that has been caring for themselves their whole lives, a generation that never asked for help and handled things on their own. So getting someone to just accept help is typically a barrier to entry, but once they realize that they have the option to either interview differing caregivers or speak with them on the phone, so they're not complete strangers by the time they actually begin the service. Additionally, in helping with, for example, transportation is taken away, advocating for socialization, getting them out and hanging out with their friends or going to the grocery store, getting their hair done. They then come to realize that, this might be a nice option.
Yeah, so that person may be providing transportation. They're also, it's a companionship thing, or something you just mentioned that hadn't occurred to me, is even getting them out for transportation, not necessarily just to run errands, but maybe to go to that bingo game or go to that social club or play cards to get to a place that they can have more involvement with others.
Yes. A leading cause of, hospitalization or going back to the hospital or depression, onsets to differing diagnoses. So just getting them outside of the home, getting them in the sun or some exercise or any sort of, moment where they can speak with their friends is just beneficial for really anyone. No one likes to be cooped up in the house all day.
Okay. That's Diego Chacon. He's the Director of Admissions for 24-Hour Home Care. I see how the description of his title fits. Even though you're not being admitted to a hospital, as Director of Admissions, you're still overseeing people admitting to your program and what they need and what you can provide for them and so forth.
Precisely.
Does your company like yours at all ever deal with a situation where maybe your activities of daily living, which are the non-medical things, the personal assistance, the bathing, the dressing, using the restroom, that sort of thing, are there times when there might be some medical visiting people, physical therapy, a nurse for a diabetic shot? Tie all that together for us, medication reminders, that sort of thing.
Definitely. So typically when patients are discharged, they're set up with home health, in which a physical therapist or occupational therapist will come a couple times a week for maybe an hour. Our staff works in conjunction with these PT and OTs to shadow the exercises and continue the exercises through the week, whether it's range of motion exercises, practicing transfer techniques, short walks around the home, just to keep, the blood flowing and keep the body moving.
So are you saying that things from occupational therapy and physical therapy, once the therapists have made their visit for the hour, that during the time that your caregivers spend, there may be also some assisting or practicing of those things to make sure that they're getting more than 1 hour a week of those items?
Exactly. Oftentimes we're given the therapy exercises or language exercises, and we'll practice those with a client's patient.
Yeah. I don't want to sound mercenary here, but in our conversation just popped into my head the thought that you as a home care service, it's also a selfish interest that you want to make sure people are in good shape at home. If you're not overseeing your clients well in a home setting, they're going to a nursing home. You just lost a client.
Very true.
I mean, again, that maybe sounds mercenary, and I'm not saying that 24-Hour Home Care isn't a passionate company, but think about this, folks. Your loved one will be well taken care of because the longer that they can stay independent, just with this little bit of help with their activities, maybe they can live their entire life out in their home.
Very true.
All right.
Exactly that.
24-Hour Home Care is what we're talking about, and that's the name of the company. Take a visit to their website. You got to write this down. It's a little bit complicated for radio. It's the number 24, the letter H, the letter R, cares with an S.com. The number 24, HR, cares.com. Or maybe it's just easier to call them for a consultation. 480-219-4434. 480-219-4434. Diego, that free in-home consultation, what's the range of hours I can call? Can I even maybe possibly have someone come over after business hours if I want to have my parents seen and I'm not home from work till 5 or something? Can I have flexible hours on that?
Sure can. So Although our business hours, or office hours rather, are typically from 8:30 to about 5:30, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We go on an on-call rotation, so a live representative that's familiar with the industry, familiar with your specific situation can help, whether it's after hours, weekends, holidays. I know I myself have conducted a consultation on Christmas Eve and began care on Christmas, so we truly are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow. That is spectacular. That is wonderful. 480-219-4434. If you have someone at home that you think might need some care, if you yourself listening right now have this young man, Diego Chacon, come to visit you, he's got a business background in this. He's got also some personal background in this. Diego, we just have a minute or two going out to break. You mentioned to me before the show about how even your grandmother needing some help kind of introduced you to this. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, my grandmother was really important to me. She lived in my home growing up and, helped raise me. And through the process of me aging, definitely noticed that she needed additional assistance around the home. Did cause a lot of stress on my family just because they couldn't handle her extensive care. And once they hired a caregiver in place, there was a lot of issues with, either theft or just unqualified individuals providing care for my grandmother, and that really hit home for me. Sadly, it is a highly unregulated industry, and although it's just tough for me to even really talk about, but important to consider and definitely review your options with all the providers here in Arizona.
Yeah. That's Diego Chacon. Like I said, a nice young man that would give you a good, fair shake on giving a consultation. 480-219-4434. More with Diego when we return after this news break. Do you live a little too far away from your elderly parents to keep an eye on them as much as you'd like to? Do you have an elderly relative that maybe has got some recent hospitalization, just needs some temporary care? That's what we're talking about here today at Ask the Experts. I'm Robert Allen. We're here with Diego Chacon from 24-Hour HomeCare. Diego, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
I appreciate you telling your personal situation before we went to the break, how you learned a lot about this before you're even in the business with your grandmother needing some home care. And that's why I want to really stress to folks that I think that if they're hearing this interview today, it's really an opportunity. It's not by accident. This young man works for this company, 24-Hour HomeCare, and he's knowledgeable. He's college educated. He knows his industry, and he actually cares. He really does. So take this number down, 480-219-4434. He or one of his assistants will do a free in-home consultation. Maybe you need a little bit of care, an hour or two. They don't have a requirement needing 4 to 6 hours minimum care. They are glad to come out and help you for whatever you need, ranging from things around the house, helping you get dressed, take a bath, use a toilet, whatever it might be. They can do light housekeeping, prep a meal for you, remind you about medication, help you with transportation, companionship, activities of daily living. If you've heard that comment from a social worker or someone at the hospital, that's how these folks can help you. Diego, let's talk about this idea that I know I went through this, living even out of state. I mean, gosh, if you live 50 miles away, if you live across town, it's hard to help your parents or your grandparents or whatever. How would you deal with someone that was out of state? Are you guys going to do an evaluation of their parents, send photos? What would you do in a case if it was me calling from 1,000 miles away?
What we've done previously, we've actually had point of contacts, children FaceTime with us during the consultation. However, if they're working or unavailable to do so, we would usually submit the care plan to them by fax or email. In the event of an interview, and we discussed this earlier, Robert, where families can interview caregivers, those that are maybe a little apprehensive of using services, we've created a caregiver biography that we could submit by email or fax to that point of contact family member. And on these biographies, it includes a picture of the caregiver to put a face to the name of who's going to be providing care for their loved one. any licenses or certifications they may have, years of experience, medical condition experience, and hobbies, interests, and why they got into the industry. I know that me personally, I would want to know this information if it was my mother and she's out of state in California and I couldn't help out. It definitely helps them at ease knowing that they can at least see the individual on paper, but maybe not necessarily in person.
Yeah, but have that peace of mind. And look, Arizona, your company covers all of Maricopa County. 24-hour home care can go anywhere in Maricopa County. And this is a big retirement state. There are a lot of senior citizens here. There are a lot of people whose, children live out of state. They might still live back east, Midwest, whatever, and they come out to visit. And then they realize, wow, I haven't seen mom or dad in a couple of years. They're not getting around so well. So that's when these interventions will come.
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever get out to the Sun Cities or anything, just to even let folks know that sort of service is available?
Absolutely. We do service Sun City, all of the West Valley. However, just as long as it's in Maricopa County, we do service it.
Okay.
We are planning on expanding throughout Arizona, more than just Central Phoenix, but for the time being, it's just Maricopa County.
Okay. Amongst some of the services that you do, I just want to ask you, how customized can you get as far as, certain people have, let's say, dietary restrictions, whether it's for diabetes or whatever it might be. You do meal preparation. Can you go to that extent that you can work within the guidelines of the care providers, the healthcare providers, telling your caregivers, this person can't eat that, they need to do that? Is that sort of thing able to be done?
Absolutely. Sadly, the industry standard is usually some sort of microwavable meal or, something quick and easy, an easy fix. But what people don't realize is those meals have extremely high sodium content and aren't necessarily the best for their prospective diseases or diagnosis, which, can lead to hospitalizations and, can lead to a whole list of other ailments. But what's been beneficial for us as a means of training our caregiving staff to provide nutritious meals, we've created a nutritious meal plan or meal guide where we've partnered with a registered dietitian and created a meal plan for varying diagnoses, whether it's diabetes or congestive heart failure. The book actually is available on Amazon, but through our hiring and screening process, they're required to learn these different forms of meal preparation.
That's really excellent. I mean, in the years I've helped, situations with my parents, dealt with, probably 4 or 5, maybe half a dozen different home care giving companies, and that was even in multiple states. This sounds really conscientious to me. I'm really glad that you shared that. 24-hour home care is the company. Our guest is Diego Chacon. He would help you with admissions if your family member needs help. He'll evaluate and tell you what you need. And I'm really glad to hear they do, short visits if necessary. They'll do even this type of help with medically related meal planning. Visit 24hrcares.com. That's the number 24hrcares.com. Or just straight out give them a call, 480-219-4434. Again, 24-hour home care at 480-219-4434. Don't be shy. Diego has personal experience with this with his own grandmother. So he knows this from the caregiver side and from the business side. He'll take good care of you. 480-219-4434. Diego, what's the first thing that folks should do if they're dealing with a family member that's resistant to this? What could you suggest to them? Because the family member who wants to bring a caregiver in might know it's necessary. They might want to do it. Before you even get there and put them at ease, which I'm sure you will do, what can you suggest to me as a family member how I could approach introducing this idea of having someone come over?
Well, I think beginning by speaking with potentially their primary care physician or some sort of family friend that has used the service prior to encourage them to go that route would be a great first step. If they're still hesitant to using the process, I think just painting the picture that it's more for the family's well-being and peace of mind, knowing that they have someone in the help to care for their family, to put it more on themselves versus on them that they need the help, more that the family member needs the help for them, if that makes sense.
No, that's really excellent. And I'm realizing, as you were saying that, I'm realizing that I did that myself, and it's been many years since I was involved in having that need, for home care for my parents. They passed away a while back, but I'm realizing as you said that to tell your family member that, even if you think you're so independent, could you give me the peace of mind that I trust that? And I don't want to say guilt them into it, but, I mean, that's the truth of it is you love your family members and you really don't want to be distracted having to think about that. You have either your own immediate children to take care of, you have a job to attend or whatever. You'd like that peace of mind yourself. So ask for it, from that standpoint. So what we don't want to do, we don't want to threaten them with you better talk to this home care guy, Mom, or I'm putting you away in a nursing home.
That would be the worst plan of attack.
That would be bad.
Please don't do that.
Okay. All right. We're talking to Diego about 24-hour home care. Visit the number 24HRcares.com to get more information, or just straight away give them a call, 480-219-4434, 480-219-4434. Their offices are in Scottsdale, folks, but that does not matter. They're going to come to your house. They're going to help give you a consultation about what your needs are. They're going to do that consultation for free. And if you weren't tuned in 10 or 15 minutes ago, Diego even said he did an evaluation on Christmas Eve. He got someone's caregiving started on Christmas Day.
Sure did.
Dude, that is some dedication.
Thank you.
I want to tell you, man. So they're even on call. They'll take a call, and you'll get to talk to a qualified person about your needs around the clock, basically. Okay. We talked about some specialized needs for, cooking and that sort of thing. Give us a little deeper sense of these other activities of daily living, things that you might be able to assess with people, maybe even something simple like the person's got limited mobility, so now maybe the clothing they have to wear. You're going to be thinking about helping them dress in clothing that's easier to wear. Give us a little more detail on what you might see in these cases.
Sure. With any sort of surgery, or if an individual falls or is a fall risk, assessing their ability to bear their own weight and assist in standing up or ambulating, walking around the house, or simply transferring from a toilet to a standing position may be difficult for most people after, again, a fall or, a discharge from the hospital. So just making sure that they're using assistive devices if they do need that assistance with ambulation, whether it's a walker, wheelchair, or some sort of Hoyer lift or gait belt, to assist in the transferring process.
Okay, excellent. When we come back from this break, I want to ask Diego a couple of issues. When you have a young baby, you do baby proofing around the house. I want to ask whether or not they do any elder proofing to make the house safer. And we also want to talk about money before we're done here today, because this stuff does cost, but you do need it. So stay with us. We'll be right back. More about 24-hour home care. The older that your infant becomes, the less care they need. But unlike an infant, I discovered myself that the older my parents became, the more dependent they needed, the more care they needed. And that's what we're talking about here today. 24-hour home care is the company. 24HRcares.com is the website. A free in-home consultation can be done by our guest who's here with us today. 480-219-4434 is the number to call for that consultation. 480-219-4434. Diego Chacon from 24-Hour Home Care is with us. Thanks again for joining us in studio.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
It's great talking with you. Again, it's something that I hadn't been involved with in a number of years, but it brings back memories of things I dealt with. And I know it's a challenging situation. And it's nice to meet someone that's young and bright and cares and passionate and has personal knowledge from their own grandmother in dealing with this. And before I went to the break, I said there was a couple things I wanted to talk about in our final segment together. And, you're not just evaluating the client who needs the care. You have to also evaluate their home, their environment, and see how it's fitted for them. Like baby proofing, there has to be things observed for that. I want to discuss that with you in this remaining moments, and also as far as the cost and how these things are paid for. So go with either one of those, whatever you like. Sure.
Well, just backing up a little bit, I just thought it was interesting. I mean, the circle of life is definitely constant. You start your life in diapers and, may end in diapers, which, is sad but true. But going back to proofing,
but sad in one way, but isn't it wonderful to even have the availability of those senior diapers?
Very true.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
But yes, when going back to our consultation again, in home, we do conduct a home evaluation. So we review to see if it's a one-story home, if there's any lifted entry to the shower, any sort of throw rugs or cables throughout the home. If an individual is hospitalized for, maybe a knee replacement surgery or a hip replacement surgery, getting in and out of the home, if there's stairs, you may need to, reach out and get a ramp installed, or if it's a two-story home, some sort of lift to get you up and down stairs. But definitely an aspect that's very important and must be reviewed, especially if you're meeting with a patient in the hospital, not in their home.
Yeah. So, I would encourage folks, because I've been through this myself, even if you're not totally sure if you need these services, take advantage of a free home consultation, get, a relationship with these folks. They will be needed at some point. Give them a call, 480-219-4434. They'll come over anytime, day or night. They're on call. Even on holidays, they'll come by, because if the need is there, they'll fill it. 480-219-4434. Let's talk for a couple minutes about the costs of these things, because I know that even for myself, when I was getting involved with my parents' care, understanding Medicaid, Medicare, and all these terminologies, activities of daily living, and I know there's different evaluation levels for different levels of care. Give folks a little sense of what's involved, with how they will attend with that part of it.
Sure. So, again, varying along differing industry lines, rates fluctuate. But for us, they're dependent solely on the hours that our patients are requesting, not the care that's being performed. So their scale is anywhere from $19.50 to $23 per hour. And we like to help patients that need increased coverage by lowering their hourly rate. So for, say, a 12-hour shift or 2 12-hour shifts, the rate is the $19.50, whereas it does go higher for the amount of hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, as far as insurance or Medicare or long-term care, are any of these things applicable to help costs at all?
Yes. Unfortunately, Medicare isn't an option to pay for our services yet. However, we do accept 99% of private long-term care insurance policies, and we can help our clients navigate the process as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with long-term care insurance.
A little bit, yeah.
In some instances, it can actually be difficult to navigate, a lot of hoops to jump through, and we can, get the process moving, open the claim for our patients, and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, okay. And, if folks do have any savings and they do private pay this, they shouldn't think about it as, a problem, because it's better to be taken care of than to get hurt.
Yes.
Yes. It's just, and the fact of the matter is too, I know, this is taking it a step beyond home care and then into assisted living and into like Medicaid facilities, nursing homes that are paid, through Medicaid and that sort of thing, where it's, government funded like medical welfare. And the reality is that if you have your money squirreled away and you don't touch a nickel of it, that money has to go away to get certain like Medicaid coverage for nursing home. And nursing home can be $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month. you are better to treat yourself after working hard all your life to getting some good in-home care and staying as independent as you can on your own, because otherwise you're going to find yourself in a hospital situation and they're going to be telling you, you are in too bad a shape, you really can't go home at this point, you need to go into a nursing home or whatever, and then you're going to start being told by your accountant or your attorney or whatever about your will and trust and about your bank accounts and how you have to spend down money. I know I went through this with my own father. And start spending the money down on yourself and your care before you're forced to be in that financial situation to get the other government benefits that might eventually be a reality anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we talked a little earlier, and I want to touch back on this. You guys are non-medical care.
Correct.
But you also, though, work a little bit in conjunction. If somebody has physical therapists coming, if they have occupational therapists coming, your caregivers are the eyes and ears through the week of how the progress is, that you can communicate that with the therapists and let them know the status.
Exactly. Typically, as we mentioned prior, physical therapists, occupational therapists will come to the home for maybe an hour, couple hours, a few days a week. We can shadow those therapies and keep the exercises consistent throughout the week so they're regaining the shape and can get, mom, dad, grandpa back to fighting shape. Additionally, going back to the eyes and ears aspect, a lot of our populace are snowbirds, so we report directly to those families that may be out of state to know how their parents are doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. So not only can I get your services out of state, but you can keep me up to date.
Yes, sir.
Is that communication, phone, email, both? Occasional Skype time, or
we can do whichever you prefer.
Okay.
All of the above, all three at the same time, if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, so as far as you're not going to fit it to your needs, again, you're going to fit it to the client's needs and the loved ones and so forth, whatever works for them to set it up.
Of course.
Again, 24-hour home care, from my own experience, they sound quite conscientious, quite thorough, and quite dedicated. They are a large company. They're based in Scottsdale, for those of you needing help throughout Maricopa County. They've proven their model of what they do based on the fact that they have many locations in California, where you're originally from, Diego.
Yes,
correct? Okay.
Correct.
And again, Diego Chacon, reach him at 480-219-4434. He can do a free in-home evaluation. He's a nice young man with a good disposition that will be kind and caring, from what I can tell. And you can get his knowledge, get his help. Diego, we've got maybe a minute or two left. If there's anything that you want to just, top of mind, talk to folks about why they should come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we touched on a scenario in which a patient was discharging from the hospital and is unsure of, what exactly the patient may need, a client may need, family member may need, and instances where maybe the care might be too extensive for the family to help. We have a rapid response time guarantee where we can guarantee care to begin that same day. Either myself or a member of my management team can be by the patient's bedside conducting the initial consultation within 2 hours, and we can coordinate, have a caregiver assisting within 3. So in those instances where care might fall through or you need last-minute help, we'd be more than happy to be a resource for you.
Excellent, excellent. And again, I can't stress enough that in my own personal dealings versus what I'm hearing about how 24-hour home care approaches things, they've got a lot of nice options. They're very flexible. They sound like they'll just work with you, shape it around what you need, customize some things, whether it's meals, whatever the care is. Just a company worth checking out, folks. Visit their website, the number 24HR cares with an S.com. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.